Hey, it's me, Brooks. Welcome to Heal This. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to talk about energy, all things energy, and how we can change our energy and heal our life. I have a special guest today. Her name is Shelli Roberts. She is a life alchemist, a success coach, and an energy healer, which is definitely right up my alley, right? So I get really excited about reading energy and how we can help others to be more self aware about the energy that we're in so that we can help heal the things that are in our life. So let's start. Hi, Shelli. How's it going today?
I love being here with you. Thank you for having me.
Yay! I know, I'm glad we're doing this. Okay, so you tell me in your words how you describe what you do and, you know, just give me a brief overview of what you do.
I I don't know that I have the networking pitch. What do they call it? The mini pitch,
The
elevator pitch.
elevator
I don't,
speech? Yeah.
yeah, because it's evolved so much. But in a nutshell, I'm a life coach who has deep intuition. And I like to apply that to healing our inner spaces and places. So whether it's our mentality and mindset,
Mhm.
as around success, or whether it's around limiting beliefs, whether it's around traumas and processing traumas, the energy work that I do is just so it just blows my mind how powerful it is. Yeah, and if it's not me, then definitely I recommend to our listeners explore it. It's quick, it's lasting,
Yes.
and the smallest things. You and I were talking before we got started. The smallest things really lodge into your energy field and can impact your whole day, and then it turns into impacts for your whole life. So um,
True.
it's just been an amazing journey of healing and transformation for myself. And I got into all of this work because when I was on my own healing journey, this stuff wasn't talked about. It wasn't as readily
Right.
available. There wasn't science behind it, and now there is, and it's so exciting to me that there's so
Yeah.
much available now to people who do want to have their best lives and are willing to commit some time and attention to their own inner work. And it's not really work; it can be fun.
True. It can be really exciting because it's like solving this puzzle, I feel like. And you describe yourself as a life alchemist, which I absolutely love because I feel like it is not just one ingredient. It is not just one way of healing. You know, we are multidimensional beings. We are very, um, we're we're not simple creatures, right? We have
You know?
very complex things going on. And so, really addressing the mind, body, soul, the holistic part of our whole being. So, that includes not just our physical part, our spiritual energy. You know, we might be talking about like our biofield, our um, biosphere, right? Like, how would you describe that part? Did I say it right?
So, I mean,
um,
people usually think of it as the aura, but there's multiple layers
mhm.
to our aura. So our energy field is just as complex and multidimensional as what you're alluding to. And I would say too that our past lives and our lineages,
Absolutely. I was going to say that too. Yeah,
yeah, our lineages are stored in our DNA in our bodies, but our past lives are stored in our souls. So the energetic signatures
absolutely.
of all of those experiences we bring forward into this lifetime. We don't
Yes.
realize it. It's stored in our subconscious, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so
You're
it's
right.
in there, but it's impacting us in ways with programs and beliefs that we're not even consciously aware of. And when we start to delve into those they call them shadows, but not scary shadows. They're
No.
there as part of our healing journey because they come forward in things like triggers, right? Or fears
Yes.
that we don't have any explanation for. Well, why do I have this fear of the dark that I just absolutely, won't go outside on my own without a light or, protection or whatever. Just deep, deep fear. And nothing that is in my conscious awareness of this lifetime can I explain why I have this deep, deep fear of the dark. Well, it's probably a past life thing, right? And
Right.
it's super with the tools that we have and the modalities that we have available to us. It's actually very not only easy to find, but also super quick and easy to heal. And can
Mm-hmm.
you imagine what your life would be like if you no longer had that limiting capacity to your mobility and doing things out, in the evenings, for example?
Yes.
So freeing,
Yes.
so freeing.
It is. I get super excited about it. Okay, so you said a couple of things. First of all, our biosphere, our field, right, outside of us is scientifically proven now. Like they will tell you uh the scientific facts where no we don't talk about this in school, but it's like a 3-foot sphere around us that is like the rings of a tree, right? And that can sense um other people's biospheres, right, and field. And not only that, but we, like you said, we have things kind of out there. Some of it's like super past in this life, some of it is past life, some of it, and this is how I explain it to people who maybe have not all the way grasped like past lives, like they don't know what to do with that yet, right? We are energy. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. So therefore, we existed before we came into this physical body of energy, right? So, okay, wherever that was, let's just go there for a second, right? Something happened in that, and that came into this life. So that's how I kind of like prep people. And then we also know that genetically, right, through our lineage, like you said, that we can physically in our body be holding emotions, memories, things that aren't even ours or that happened in this life. Maybe they're like our great great grandmothers, right? And I always love that, like if you take this part, right, and it's like this is our physical body, and then here's our like spiritual body, and like bam, like all of a sudden here we are together, and in this moment. And no wonder we're not understanding why we're feeling sad, mad, angry, or tired, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would add too that when we become a physical being, that we're imprinted with the energy of our birth, with Earth's energy and the energy of our mothers and grandmothers' wombs, and the energy of the planets and how
Yes.
they're aligned. And
Yes.
so, yeah, all that comes into play. And when you reach a point where you recognize that your energy first and a body and a human experience second, and that you're experiencing your life in this incarnation through your body,
Yes.
that all of a sudden you realize that they're not only hugely interconnected, but that you're the master of your own creation, and you can start to recognize things that are going on and shift them if they're not particularly favorable. Right? You're the
Absolutely.
architect of your own life, and that's incredibly empowering. Scares some people to death. They don't want that level of responsibility, but when you get past the fear and you recognize, hey, I don't like this situation I'm having. I didn't necessarily create it, but here I am, I'm in it. And then you can actually take steps for yourself to shift those circumstances and not recreate a trauma or trauma pattern and not continue to feed it, right? You can break the
Mhm.
cycle. You have that power. That's huge. That's huge. Why
It
would you want
is.
to perpetuate a, narcissistic abuse pattern, right? Continue the
Yes.
trauma down the line?
No.
No,
Yeah,
no. Let's
I
heal
love
that.
that.
Heal
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so okay, from what you said too, I think when you get to this point when you're really aware, you start to become aware, okay, just like you said, we are energy, we're energy, right?
Mhm.
And now I know why I'm in this situation. I know what my energy was before I entered this situation that I'm currently in, right? I think you did the same thing that I did, and that I had to go back even further and say, how did I end up in that relationship? Or how did I end up with some of these things on my plate that I'm not really sure got there, because I know that I somehow called them in vibrationally, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or they were in my field before I came here. So maybe go back, maybe tell me a little bit about your story if you want to share some of that. Like some of the things that you noticed now looking back that led you to this path.
I love, love, love that question because one of the things my higher self a couple years ago said, it's time to write your book. And I was at a place in my healing journey where I couldn't even write, the one paragraph, hi, I'm Shelli, and an ebook that I'm offering as, as a free gift for my coaching practice. And
Yeah.
so I was at that point and my higher self comes in, nope, it's time. So I thought when I started down that journey that it would be a story about me, but also about energy healing and modalities and my perspective
That's
on it
right.
and that kind of thing, how you can apply it and use, kind of
Yeah.
high level pedantic kind of informational type stuff.
Yes.
That is not, of course, what the higher self had in mind.
Nope. Nope.
I ended up having a journey. Not only the oh my God, why did I have to go through this lifetime of trauma? Kind
Mm.
of existential awakening kind of story, but also had to go into the cathartic writing associated with confronting what my healing journey
Mhm.
had been. And to your point, circling back to it. Um, where I was in the middle of all of the abuse and then coming after divorcing my ex at the time, and then I left that marriage a puddle of a human on the floor. And
Mhm.
so the journey for me was rebuilding literally myself, my identity, my self-worth, my self-acceptance, my
Mhm.
self-esteem. Literally in my mind, I didn't matter and I wasn't worth anything. And so the
Yep.
energy signature that I was carrying, after all that healing work that I've done since then was I don't matter. I didn't know
Mhm.
that, right? But
Mhm.
in my healing journey, that eventually came forward. So here I am putting out this I don't matter, I don't matter. So what is that drawing in? More
Yep.
experiences of how I don't matter. I don't
That's
want
right.
that experience, right? So the key here is recognizing the default energy signature that you're in. So what is that
Mhm.
broadcast message that we're putting out into the world that we don't even realize necessarily, right?
Right.
Shifting that and raising it so that it's not I don't matter, but it's like not only do I matter, but I love myself and
Yay.
I'm a powerful co-creator with the universe. So, I
That's
mean,
right.
you're down here as a puddle human on the floor, and then all of a sudden you're like, boom, you got angel wings, right?
That's right.
So that looking back and writing about it in the book that I'm drafting right now is it was incredibly cathartic because why do we have to go through all of this? What came through when I asked that question in writing the book was, well, you really didn't. Had I known, and that floored me. That floored me. I was like, wait a minute,
Right. Yeah.
all these years of ongoing narcissistic abuse from different family members. And I'm
Right.
like, what do you mean I didn't have to go through? They're family members. I wouldn't have been able to get out of a family relationship. And um, what came through was your experience is dependent upon the level of consciousness, which is your energy frequency that you're putting out there into the world. And this is actually measurable. There's been studies that have been done. David Hawkins had a book called Power
Mhm.
versus Force. Um, I think this is a seminal work because what he was able to do was measure the spectrum from guilt and shame all the way at the bottom and living in fear, which is a lot of people do, all the
Yep.
way up to like existential bliss, right? And everything in between.
Yes.
And so we have this huge measurable spectrum of where we're currently operating out of. And when you can consciously shift your emotional mindset, the frequency that you're resonating at, which is
Yes.
driven by the inner state of your being, you exponentially shift the experience that you're bringing in from externally because it starts here and then it gets, as you know, gets pushed back out.
Right.
So that's one key thing. And then the other part of this is the body aspect, where your
Mhm.
body epigenetics are resonating internally at the frequency that you're putting out. So
Right.
you raise that up, and all of a sudden you're accelerating your ability to be healthy and resilient in the face of
That's right.
challenge and
That's right.
self-confident, right? And the
Yep.
universe has your back. I mean, everything changes at that point. So when my higher self said, well, you didn't have to experience that, what she meant was, had I known all of these other interrelationships and the techniques for elevating and shifting internally my inner space, oh my gosh, I
Right.
could have had a completely different experience throughout those things that were happening, right?
Yes.
Maybe they would have turned out differently, I don't know. But existentially I'm like, wow, this I need to share this because people do not need to stay in suffering. If you
That's right.
know these interrelationships and these techniques, you don't have to stay in suffering, not for a minute, not even for a second.
Yes.
Yeah, it's powerful.
It is really powerful. Well, first of all, I'm really proud of you because that's huge. Yeah, I know. And it's like, I hope you're proud of yourself because, like, nobody picked you up and did it for you. You did it,
No, it was all me.
and, um, one of the things I've thought when you were saying that is that, everything we're talking about has been said before, but you know what's different is our unique stories. And my story is going to connect with someone else that's going to say, wow, maybe I totally connect with her, right? I mean, we've been connecting through stories since the beginning of time. That's how we even translated anything or
Yeah.
taught anything was through stories. And so when you can connect through your story with someone else, then you can encourage them to look inward and start becoming more self-aware. Wouldn't you say that that's the very beginning of healing, is
Oh,
being more
yes.
self-aware of our thoughts and even like you said, our physical body. Okay, our physical body, why is it hurting all the time? Let's talk about that, and start understanding what frequency is this? What am I feeling? So, sorry, I'll take over if you don't stop me. But yes, what do you
So one of the places where I started in the energy healing journey is exactly what you're alluding to, and that is that inside our body, our chakra systems are energy centers. So in the
Yes.
physical sense, these are generated by the hormonal centers and the like our gut processing centers and that kind of
Mhm.
thing. So there's a physical connection. But in the etheric realm, as part of our auric layers, if you will, um, they're portals. And so when your portal is
Yes.
blocked, they're not firing on all cylinders inside of you, which impacts your vitality. It impacts your ability to process things around you. It's constrictive, so you can't take in as much and be okay with what you're taking in and process it. It's very constrictive when they're blocked.
Right.
And then when they're open and they're full of joy and love and high vibe energy, they become multidimensional. And so
Mhm.
our capacity to bring in the resonances of others into our experience and to be able to not make it our own, but be able to function with that higher level of sensitivity without having it, be overwhelming. That's a strong place to be, and then it expands from there. My intuition has grown where
Mhm.
I have dragon friends, fairies that visit me, and trees that talk to me. Right?
Right.
Um, yeah. So as you elevate, increase your vibration, and elevate your vibe and your energy, and you're able to
Mhm.
keep it there, which means you got to release all that lower density
Right.
stuff, right?
Yes.
When you're able to keep it there, then all of a sudden you're having an extraordinary life, you're living an ordinary life in extraordinary ways, right? I mean, literally, when you're, I can it, I can give you a quick story on how that has worked for me. Um,
Yes.
I was in a cycle at work where I was uh, in a promotion cycle. So I had put in my papers. The process was it has to be recommended by your supervisor and then goes to a higher power, and then it gets uh, um, considered in a panel of people who don't know you. So I was waiting and I was in high anticipation because I had been doing rock star work and it was being acknowledged and all these things. I was like, this is the year, right? It was try number two. It was try number two. And so you can put it in if you didn't get it. So you can put in, there's only a limited number of people. So only like the tip of the iceberg gets approved. And so literally, I was walking in the hallway on the day that I was like high excitement and anticipation of the announcement coming out. And I passed by my boss and I got this gut punch feeling. Ooh. And he was all happy and acknowledged to say, hi, how are you doing? And I got, oof, what was that? And I went in and I
Mhm.
was like, what was that? And I got done. I was like, ooh, okay, done as in done for good with this promotion process or done. And then I got wait. So it played out. And he had said I wasn't ready. which was what the initial hit was. And then after that, I saw how it promulgated up, and it was completely political. It had nothing to do with me and my
Mhm.
performance, right? But because I wasn't supported, of course, it goes to the panel and they're like, why isn't she supported? There's something wrong, right? So the
Mhm.
next year, I actually got the promotion, went through the whole process because the politics had cleared. But recognizing, yeah, I know, right? But recognizing the intuitive hit and then being able to have that conversation with my body and my higher self right there in the moment,
Mhm.
I completely avoided disappointment because my eyes were open
Absolutely.
to what was really going on. It had nothing to do with me, my accomplishments, nothing, right? There was nothing
Yes.
I could have done different because it had nothing to do with me, right? I was just
Yes.
being used as an example. And so, going back to your point, where this expands our experience when we're able to cultivate that kind of connection and that kind of sensitivity, and then actually manage how we show up in the world as ourselves, energetically.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful place to be. It's
Yes.
healing the trauma to release all of that grief and anger and overwhelm. It's all very constricting, right? So if you can
Mhm.
release all of that, all of a sudden you're opened up to a broader experience of living and sensitized to the things that your aura can pick up around you 3 feet out from your physical body.
Yeah.
You can contract it too. You can bring it back
Yeah, I
in.
know, it's like right here sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and
It's like
sometimes you want that,
yeah.
right? When you're at
Yeah,
a rock concert
absolutely.
and it's
Yeah.
wall to wall people, do you want to be
Yeah.
taken and all that? No.
No.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
so you can bring it back in too, but knowing those techniques is very, very powerful, I think.
It is. Okay, so in that situation, most people see they would have been triggered, right,
Yeah,
by that. Right back to I don't matter. See how
right.
that happened? But what the way I think about a situation like that is those triggers, those situations are on a trajectory, right? They're way out there. And in that timeline, you have leveled up, right? You're like, I mean, you're going to hit me and it's just going to deflect off because I am not in resonance with you anymore.
Right.
So, that will come in and, the I don't matter. And then you're like, no, I do matter. This is not me. This is them.
Yeah.
Right? And it feels so good. For me, I'm always like, this is laughable that you thought
Yes.
you were going to come in here and trigger me because I'm not there anymore.
Yep.
And then the other thing is like, don't you think it's funny when so you were sharing earlier that you can communicate with other interdimensional beings, right? And a lot of times when I have individuals in my office, sometimes spirit comes in and they've brought someone with them, and this isn't something I necessarily signed up for, but when you're open and you are listening intuitively, then other things are going to come in, and obviously you and I know how to guard ourselves against other things that we do not want there. Those things come in sometimes too, and then all of a sudden I'm just bombarding them with light kind of a situation. But what I was going to say is, don't you think it's funny when they communicate with you and you're like, yeah, could you just elaborate or get right to the point? Like with the done thing, you're like, what does that mean exactly? Couldn't you have just said, there's lots of times I'm like, what is this word that you're saying? Why can't you just say exactly what it is you would like me to communicate with them? Um, but isn't
Yeah,
that
that's
how people are too? They
yes.
can't
Well,
get right to the points.
so my
We have to think
my
about it that way.
I know, but my higher self was showing me what I needed to learn and see in the situation, right?
Good. Yes.
So basically keying me to pay attention,
Yes.
and then I wasn't worried about what I was going to say when I met with the higher up, who was like, well, they didn't put you forward, and I was on the fence, and
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, really? So this senior who was that person, I run into her in the hallway, where, in completely different situation, completely different job scenario, and she's sweet as pie. So it wasn't personal at all. So
Right.
if you're in a place where you're thinking that everything that's happening to you and you're victimized by it,
Yeah.
then you're not open to receive the broader perspective that your soul sees, that everything is good, everything's for a reason, and everything is interconnected. So
Yeah.
if you can get out of victim wounding mode, and
Yeah.
everything that happens to you is against you,
Right.
you're opened up to much broader experience of living, and then all
Yes.
these other etheric aspects of it too, if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
literally, when
because
I'm like, it's too much at work, and please, keep to the big important things, but all the rest of it, I'm like, got this.
yeah,
Thank you, but not here.
because sometimes part of our healing is kind of doing the digging a little bit. Like they give us a little bit of a clue and then we're like, "Huh, what does that mean exactly?" And it means what it's supposed to mean for us individually or our clients individually. If I was constantly, lots of times I'm like, "This is what they said," and then they'll say, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "What does it mean for you?"
So
Because a lot of times it's not going to mean the same thing for me.
it won't. It won't,
Yes.
because they're communicating to you in the way that they know that you'll process or understand it. So the
Right.
messages for you is going to be in a way that will resonate with you, because the
Yes.
point of the communication is to help you learn, grow, heal, whatever is going
Right.
on, right?
Expand, level up. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it's going to be unique to you, and then cultivating the relationship with how it shows up for you. That was the first time that I had like a full blown all clairs firing in a single intuitive hit. Usually, I just get an image or a sense, a feeling, an
Right.
emotion will wash over me. It'll be one clair that fires, and I'll be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, where did that come from? What is that?" And then I'll get in asking that question, I'll get
Yeah.
another image or clarification verbally, or whatever kind of intuitive hit I get, depending on what it is. But having the awareness of how your intuition shows up for you and how to process it for you is, again, a huge tool in the toolbox for navigating all of the extrasensory things that we are getting outside of our just our normal conversations and experiences with people, right?
Yeah. No, that's perfect because that kind of leads into some of the next things I wanted to ask you, and that is, you know, how we consciously shift our energy, right? If I'm signing up to heal and I'm okay, I'm ready. I can accept that some of this is my problem, right? Like I'm doing this and I want to become more aware. I want to use my intuition. So how do we shift our energy, right? Like that's the whole thing, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
um because I mean there's obviously physical things that we can do. There are you know there's lots of different options, but what are some of the things that you advise people right out of the gate? Here are some things that you can do different to shift, to consciously shift your energy so that you can focus on healing and leveling up.
right, right. I think the first thing is give yourself grace. We are where we are, and we are the culmination of our current understanding and perceptions, our experiences, all of it, right? So give
Hmm.
yourself grace, and don't blame yourself. If you don't feel like you want to have this experience anymore, then the first step is to realize that it's in your power to change it and shift it for the better, right? So that's key.
Hmm.
But you said it before, earlier in our conversation, I think, and that is the awareness. So you have to be connected to this thing that's happening is coming from you, whatever it is. It's at some level, maybe not a conscious level, but
Right.
recognizing that it's happening, and then acknowledging hey, I don't like this. I don't want to be in this. And okay, so if I don't like this and I don't want to be victimized by it, what is the experience that I do want to have? And then hook your perspective on what does that look like for me? How do I show up and what that looks like? And then you've got this now a portrayal of the clear perspective of what's going on right now and how you're feeling about it. And is it feeling victimizing? And I don't like that
Right.
feeling. And I don't want to be in that place. And all of a sudden you're like, well, all of these things. But then when you're able to say, I have the power to move out of all of this. And what is, back to your question, what is the first step that I can take in order to shift it? And
Yeah.
the answer is whatever that first step looks like for you. So it depends on the situation. If it turns out that you're feeling victimized by somebody doing something at work and you feel like you've been put into a very powerless position and you feel like there's no recourse. And, how do you navigate the situation where you very much are being put into a position of victimization, but you don't want to be a victim? So all of these dichotomies that we have in this earth plane
Mhm.
come to the foreground, and you have
Mhm.
choices on how you want to show up. You can give in and surrender to being a victim, which is not what I'm about. But you fight something that is where the cards and the positions of people in positions of power are stacked against you, like my story a second ago. It's like, okay, I'm going to surrender to the situation as what it is, but I don't accept it. And so,
Mhm.
playing a longer, bigger picture game as an eternal, energetic being having a human experience, this experience is a blink in the eye, right? Blink.
Right.
So if you take a bigger picture view and a longer perspective, it's like, okay, this isn't over. I still work here. I still want a promotion. I still have to deal with the same chain of command that turned me down the first time. So literally, I'm like, okay, the ball's in my court. What actions can I take on behalf of myself and in order to move this ball down the court in the direction that I want it to go? Right.
Right.
So the fight's not over, but it's not really a fight. It's like, okay, I made a
Right.
conscious, empowered choice for how I want to move through this, whatever this is. But recognizing that you are the creator of your own experience and that you do have that power in you, that putting yourself back into the driver's seat of being able to make choices about how your situation is and how you want it to be. It's not going to necessarily happen overnight. Sometimes it does,
Right. True.
quite
True.
surprisingly.
Yes. It can.
um, yeah, but I mean, it's pretty. The energy has to come first, and so literally, when you shift your
Yes.
energy, the physicality of things start to then click, 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 click into place as you
Yes.
hold that energy as you move forward. And that's a trick, the recognition of where you're currently at. How are you feeling? Right? We stuff things.
Right. Oh
We
my
we push
gosh,
it
do
down. We
we?
don't want to
Yeah.
deal with it. It's too hard. It's too complex. It's too whatever, whatever. It's like, no, you have to acknowledge where you're at right now and process
Yes.
it. Give yourself the grace to process through it. Don't hold on to it,
Yes.
but let it process through. Right?
Yeah. So beautifully put. I love it. I heard this the other day and I love Louise Hay. She is probably, I mean, if I could just, sit at and listen to her, I would, because I just think she's amazing. But she said, if you want to sweep the floor, you got to look at the dirt.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, I love this, because we all have dirt we have to clear out of the way. It's that shadow stuff that you were talking about. It's the resistance, right? And I was going to bring up too, we might be sitting, we might be like, okay, I totally know what this problem is. I know how I'm feeding it. I can see that clearly, right? Right. Maybe we're on the brink of it. We can feel it. But as soon as we start to really look at the dirt and start to shine the light in the shadows, right? And we start to make the changes. We start to go with it instead of resisting, and we start trying to figure it out. This is the part where so much stuff comes up,
Yeah.
And this is the part where people go, okay, and they back down. Okay, never mind, never mind. It's too much. I don't know. Because on the other side of that, you're going to have to make some big decisions, right? Sometimes you're going to have to approach the person that you're with and say, hey, we need to make some changes. That means we, not just me, you too. And if you're not willing to make the changes, it's going to get real uncomfortable,
Yeah.
right? And then, or maybe we're in a job, like you said, or maybe it's just you're going to flip your whole entire, existence, like where you move and your occupation and how you even think of yourself, right?
Yeah. Those
Whatever
big
it
changes
is,
are scary. Yeah. They're
yeah,
scary.
but they have to happen, and they don't always have to be awful. Honestly, I have never had a time in my life where there weren't rapid changes happening. Like, it feels like it's just always been happening. So I'm not really afraid of them. Um, but I do find myself pausing a little way too long sometimes to make the change. And I do think that a lot of people just back down or turn the other way and say, I'm not going to make them. Wouldn't you say that once you're going to make the big step, there's going to be stuff that comes up? But isn't that like, what do you say to people about
Yeah,
it?
that's part of the journey. The stuff that comes up is, again, it's coming up so that you can consciously address it. So when you
Yes.
recognize that it's not happening to you, it's happening for you, and it's
Yes.
coming up so that you can make a conscious decision around what's being raised into your awareness. You have a choice to deal with it now if it's impeding you in some way and process it through, or you can set it aside and say, yes, I acknowledge and recognize that this is coming up to serve me. However, I've got other things that I'm focusing on right now, and I'll come back to it, and then making sure you come back to it. So again, recognizing that, you don't have to react. You are in the driver's seat.
Right.
You're creating your own reality. If you recognize that a job change and moving and a divorce all at the same time, that happened to me, right?
And it usually happens that way too, where it's
Yeah,
like
but it
all
was
of the
like,
stuff.
yeah, but for me, it was, I need a big change. And so I'm like, boom, boom, boom. Well, I took on too much, and I recognize that this is a bit overwhelming. But those are just, decisions and choices that I had made. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this for my own greater good. Yes, it's overwhelming now, but it'll all work out. And I'm just going to take a breath, take a walk around the block, in the woods, whatever, and
Right.
just breathe through it, right? Breathe and come back into center, even
Hmm.
though there's a whole lot going on. I think the things going on outside of you is hard when it's an attack on your personal identity and your personal values. So
Yes.
what we run into is, my boss should have been a stronger advocate for me. So I'm doing all the shoulds. He should have done. He should have. And we do it to our spouses and the loved ones in our lives. They should. When you get out of those kinds of projections and you center in on, okay, here's what I value about this person, or here's what I value about this situation, or here's what I'm learning in this circumstance, and staying in a place of openness is the key,
Yes.
and you can navigate and process through it a lot more effectively and efficiently without having those fears come up and those resistances come up. The
Hmm.
resistances come up because of the fears, because of limiting beliefs. It's too much for me. I can't do this. Well, you
Right.
can, and recognize that you're in the driver's seat. It's like, okay, do I need to do a divorce and a move at the same time? No. I mean, no, no,
No. Yeah.
right? So you can pace yourself. Again, we're eternal souls having a human experience, and this human experience, in the grand scheme of our soul's perspective, is a blink in the eye. So
Yes.
again, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace on the journey.
Yes. That's that's probably one of the biggest things that I've had to learn is how to give myself grace.
Mm,
And in those really hard situations, to look at it through gratitude, right? Because it is there to teach us something. And again, I've definitely shared that with others that have gone like, I can't even with you right now because you told me to be grateful for this really crappy, awful situation. That's when the pause comes in, right? Okay,
mhm.
take a pause, give it some time, let it breathe. then look at it with gratitude, because I can totally relate. I've had some really, really crappy low times. When I look back, I think, okay, you showed up. You showed up to show me something and teach me something. I'm ready to receive that now. I wasn't ready to receive learning and understanding at that time. It hurt too bad. So now I can. And I'm going to send you on your way with gratitude. Thank you for showing me that. And it doesn't mean I have to, like it or excuse a behavior, right? Like,
Right.
but also, thanks for showing up sooner rather than later, because I'm glad I could still be, in my 40s trying to fix this and heal this at this point, instead of, you know what I mean? Because
Just
we all know
reacting to
people
it.
well into,
Yeah.
way late in life that are extremely bitter and still didn't learn from all
Right.
the things that were showing up. And
Right. Right. And
I'm
we're holding that bitterness, and guess what? We're gonna attract more reasons to
more
be bitter.
bitterness.
Right.
That's right.
So yeah, so the healing comes when you're able to forgive not necessarily their behavior or
No,
them as a person, but forgive them in how they relate to you, because the act of forgiveness is for you, actually.
absolutely.
It's
Yes.
that is the release of all of hanging on to that resentment or that anger or that victimization or whatever it is, right? Those lower density energies. The act of forgiveness and the introduction, as you said, of gratitude is for you. So if you're holding
Yes.
on to all of that hate and that anger and that victimization, then guess what? You're going to invite energetically more situations that are going to bring you reasons to be hateful and angry. Is that what we
Yes.
want in our lives? No.
No.
No, let's expand our experience into love and joy and lightness and being able to treat each other better.
Yes.
Be good humans.
Yes. Let's be good humans. I agree. As part of my job, I am a licensed massage therapist, and part of my journey has been, once I actually had my license and I was really working all the time. I mean, hundreds of bodies, right? We're doing this over and over and over, and specific parts of the body would say the exact same words to me, resentment, bitterness, grief, financial worries, right? And so I started to figure out that there are specific emotions and traumas that are held in specific parts of the body. And also just specific things that people would come in and start showing me, like not just presenting to me, right? And I'm like, okay, this is a manifestation of something else that's going on in your life.
Yeah,
And so
holding on to.
how has that shown up for you, and what's your experience there?
Um, I love that you brought this up, because I feel like the body holds our trauma and holds all of those energetic things going on inside of us. And the fact that your experience has demonstrated where exactly in the body typically these things are stored. I'm a huge proponent of a book that came out called "The Body Keeps the Score," and it
Mhm,
talks about exactly that. It's scientifically demonstrated in the
mhm,
context of a PTSD, folks who, I think, World War II, and
mhm.
then they brought it forward into other conflicts such as that. And the stored trauma response is huge. So that's
Yes.
physical. But then the things that you're talking about are the emotional stored in our body as well, which is they turn into chemical things that are
Yes.
then kept in our body physically. So it's all interrelated. And then if you can shift your mindset around how you process the things that are going on, you change the nature of how your body experiences them and your emotions. So it's all interrelated.
Yeah.
And a holistic approach doesn't just address your beliefs in your mind. It addresses how you process your experiences, how you the perspective that you bring, and that's based on your conditioning and lived experiences. All of it is interrelated.
Yes.
So if you are able to have that kind of body connection to experience those. Um, it opens a door for profound level of multidimensional healing. for sure.
Yes.
There are multiple modalities. One of the ones that I like a lot is EFT, um, emotional
Yes.
freedom technique. And the reason why is because it has demonstrated that all of these emotions that get stored in our body can be released through tapping on meridians, right? So as we physically acknowledge and tell our body it's okay, it's okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
okay, it's
Yeah,
okay.
because what you're doing right now is multidimensional.
Yes, yes.
Okay, just I just want to like help people understand that part.
Yeah, it's huge in that respect because as you're going through the script, you're telling your body to calm down. It's okay. You can release
Hmm.
this. You don't need to hold on to it anymore. And I've gone through several instances personally where the tension has been released and the limiting belief has been released, and then you can put in affirmations and you can affirm
Yes.
that this is what you want to be instead. So the self-secure, the self-confident, I release the fear of failure, whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
It's hugely empowering and has scientifically demonstrated that it's worked and some
Yes.
seriously profound things. I'll tell you a quick story on my personal experience. Um, my mom had been complaining about when she was alive, she had been complaining about at one point in her life having pain everywhere, like fibromyalgia is unexplainable.
Hmm.
and I, she's like came out of the health industry before she retired and was looking at all of the things online and talking to health practitioners and was just digging trying to understand why she has fibromyalgia. And I'm like, if you're digging trying to understand, you're working it from up here, and your body is telling you, I'm in pain, release
Right.
the pain, right? I got her an EFT practitioner in a package, and literally this person worked with her, and it turned out she had stored grief.
Hmm.
She had stored repressed emotions from her teenage years in her experience. And when she went through this package with this very talented and highly recommended practitioner, she was able to release all of that, and her fibromyalgia was gone at the end of the package. She
Yay.
It was funny to me because she's like, "Oh yeah, I feel much better. I don't have all these pain."
Hmm.
She never made the connection that the two were
Right.
related because she
Right.
was so mired in our current
Yeah.
healthcare system that she had come out of,
Right.
right? So the first thing she did was go see a psychologist, right?
Which
Because
can
she's
be
like, "Oh,
helpful too, but yeah.
this stuff isn't what it is." And I'm like, "Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yes, it
Well,
is."
I think it's a huge win as humans that we are finally coming to the part where we're like, oh wait, we're spiritual beings in a physical body. Maybe they both matter somehow, And wow, our thoughts are not our brain,
Yeah.
right? Like they're happening. Everything's happening all around us, but we want to just act like it's something else, but it's not. And um I have a lot of the similar situations happening with the emotion code, which I think is a huge game changer. It's like you don't have to go back and feel the emotions or even know exactly where they came from. You just have to know that they get trapped in there because, everything is happening really fast and life doesn't stop. We don't get to just stop. Okay, pause, everybody. I have to process some stuff, right? It doesn't happen like that. Like we have to, but we don't have time. And so it gets stuffed. And then we don't have time to go back a lot of the time if we're not really paying attention. Now, I'm on it, right? When something comes in, I'm like, oh, we got to really figure out what this is because I don't want to hurt. I want to feel better. And there are a lot of modalities and tools out there to help us. And yes, talk therapy is great. And yes, going to a psychologist is great. But that's what I mean when I was referring to your alchemy, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Oh,
all the things have to be
it's all up
going.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that psychology is starting to shift into more holistic perspectives with the seminal work that the Body Keeps the
Hmm.
Score brought
Yes.
into that created an awareness around. They expanded their study beyond PTSD because they recognized that people who have had narcissistic abuse have
Yes.
signature syndrome. They call it a syndrome, but it's um, their signature beliefs and patterns that people come out of that experience that they're holding on to as a result of that
Right.
experience.
Right.
So when you recognize in an industry such as healthcare and psychology that stuff is recognizable, they start to build various different kinds of repeatable practices around releasing and healing it, which I think is healthy, is goodness.
Absolutely.
Do you need to have a diagnosis? Not necessarily.
No.
Sometimes it's not as deeply entrenched. But
Right.
I mean, I think that the evolution of the industry is huge because it is recognizing that things move quick. We tend to stuff and store and move on. Um, Although I would say when we recognize we're stuffing, storing, and moving on, and we know
Yeah.
that it's not healthy, then having a regular practice where you decompress and bring yourself
Hmm.
back into balance and do some energy management becomes that much more important. And it doesn't have to
Yes.
be an entire, couple hours worth. It can be literally,
A couple
10
minutes.
minutes a day in the
Yeah.
day, in the morning, 10 minutes at night before you go to bed. And clearing, releasing, acknowledging, journaling, it's all good and it's all
Yes.
healthy. Yeah, keep us
Well,
in a good
and
state.
I was asking you earlier, do you have do you have a healer? Do you have healers in your life? Because, we weren't put here by ourselves to do it by ourselves. We're here to help each other. We all have specific things we are maybe okay at or good at, right? Or expert at, right? And
Yeah.
we can help each other do those things. And so if you and I do some energy clearing on someone, right? And then that's why I love that you pair it with the coaching, because I'm always like, okay, cool, I can go in there, I can help you remove some emotions through the emotion code, I can do some intuitive body reading and help you know exactly what this is right here in your right shoulder, right? And I will let you know what it is. But your work is up here. You have to take those things and you have to shift them, and you have to use the affirmations. You have to spend some time connecting and meditating and breathing. And, you know, you have to change the neuroplasticity, right? And you have to change the cells in your body. Every little cell is a brain. They're vibrating at the frequency that you tell them. They can't help it but believe it, right? All that kind of stuff, right? We're just like constantly practicing the practice. So, yes, we
It's
have
true.
to start putting them all together and realizing that when I'm not feeling good, my body's trying to tell me something. And sometimes you're not sick, right? Like sometimes you'll be okay. It's just like you're really annoyed, or you're really like there's something else going on. And so does all that make sense? Because I get really
Yeah, no,
worked up
like,
about it.
yeah, the self-awareness is key, and recognizing
Yes.
it's happening, and then having tools in the toolbox available to you. I was talking to an individual who recently who was just waking up to his own intuitive impulses that he had been repressing, and he knows that he was repressing them because he had had some bad experiences. And I was like, when you open up and trust, it comes through in ways. And I mean, your soul knows what you've been through, right? It knows
Yes.
how you're thinking about things. And so when you open up and trust and basically say, yes, I'm open to receive these, but do it gently, right? Then
Right.
you'll start to get what is going to light you up as opposed to what you were fearing, right? And so
Yes.
knowing who to go to, a trusted resource, is key because there's so many different ways to go. And he's like, I wouldn't even know where to start. He was telling me a little bit about the journey that he's been on, and I was like, well, what is impeding your ability to live in a joyful way? And he, told me. And I was like, well, I would suggest that you go to, and I named a practitioner or a modality. He's like, how do you even address this? And I said, you talk to somebody that you trust. We has a mentor. She's an Akashic Records
Oh, I
reader,
love that.
and I was like, are you aware that you can do healing in the Akashic Records, that you can bring traumatic things into neutrality so that you're no longer blocked by them? He's like, no. I said, yeah, have a conversation with her about the things that you feel like are impeding your ability to have a beautiful life. And she can go in and help you go to the core issue or the core
Yes.
belief or the core energetic signature and release it. And it's fast, it's simple. So there's so much that's out there. It's like, okay, I know I need something. Who do I go to and for what reason? So you and I, been doing it a while. We're like, okay, I know what this is. I know what's going to heal it. And I have somebody in the Rolodex that I can reach out to that I trust. Right. So
Yes.
the first thing though is to recognize, what is this? What is going on inside of me? And then
Yes.
what do I want instead? Right. And then you know what direction to go to help resolve or address it in some way.
Yeah. Well, I started this whole thing because I was really struggling with something, and it was just blocking me, and I was just so frustrated, and I knew it was time to heal this, right? It was like this literal thing right in front of me. I was like, okay, we need to heal this so that we can level up,
Yeah.
And yours is the same thing. It's the joyful transformation. And I love that you have joy in it, because I'm all about being happy and joy and blissful. And I was going to ask you, so you said that earlier, that one of the tapes that used to play in your head was that you don't matter. I don't matter. I don't matter, which I can totally relate to. And I know that through specific relationships, we can feel like that for sure. That, nothing I do matters, nothing I say matters. It just doesn't matter. But have you noticed recently what your tape is? Have you checked in with yourself? Like, would you share maybe what you notice your tape is now instead of that one?
So my tape now is, and that one I just want to highlight really quick. I didn't know that that one was playing. The one that I was aware of was "I'm Not Enough," and so I was
Yes, I think
consciously,
that's everybody's at the
yeah,
end of the day.
yeah, and it's
I
so it's
honestly wonder if we just got a little drop of it before we entered our physical body. Oh, and by the way, you're going to think you're not enough. So get over that. you
yeah,
know?
it's part of the fear signature.
Yeah.
And it's part of the human condition. I think I
Yeah.
was delving into the gene keys charts, if you're familiar,
I'm
and
not. Tell me.
literally in the gene keys, there's a gene. They're aligned
Oh,
to the 64 codons of our DNA. So everybody has them, and so
yeah.
we're hardwired in our energetic DNA for certain tendencies, and the fear of not being enough as a human is one of them. And
Yeah.
so
That
it
makes
gets
sense.
amplified over time, over past lives, and across multiple situations because it's so prevalent. It's in the collective consciousness, and so it's hard to overcome um,
Right.
because we're just wired that way, and everybody around us is wired that way. So
Right.
you're swimming in it. But mine now, after a great deal of self awareness work, is I'm a powerful co-creator with the universe, and I create
I
my
love it.
reality in
Yes.
joyful, beautiful, and loving ways. And
Yeah.
yeah, so when you make a conscious choice, that inner peace and joy and love are the experience that you want to be having, and then it becomes a non-negotiable. I'm
That's right.
not going to accept anything less at this point. And you show up completely differently when you start to embody those beliefs, as opposed to I'm not enough. I need to prove myself. I'm a
Right.
victim. I'm reacting to other people's reactions to their own woundings. I'm being triggered all
Right.
over the place. I don't get triggered anymore.
I
I
know.
don't
Isn't
get,
it wonderful?
yes, yes. What a
That's what I
wonderful place.
meant at the beginning when I
Yes.
said it's almost laughable, because when it comes in, I'm like, oh, you thought you were going to get me.
Oh,
Nope.
there it is again.
Yep.
No, you and I are done.
Like, move over. I'm done with that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And we are powerful beings, and we have this amazing ability, and it's gotten squashed. All of us have that, right? Where we're like, am I good enough? But I just love that you found it. It makes me so happy. I
Yeah.
just can see it too. So it's
Yeah,
awesome.
a lot of work. One of the reasons
Yeah.
why I went into coaching 6 years ago was because I didn't feel like I had the tools and the techniques and I just didn't have what I needed in order to make my healing journey more quicker, right? And more
Yeah,
impactful, the actions that I was taking without spending buku money that I didn't have. And
sure.
so my intention at this point is to make this awareness available to people and provide the tips and the techniques in small doses, right? Where we can process them and actually start to practice them. And then, oh, hey, I tried this one thing and it's freaking powerful and it changed the nature of the whole day.
Yes,
When you start off the day high vibe, the whole tone of the day is high vibe. I mean, small things like that. Wow, I want to make my day high vibe. How can I raise my vibration? Do I even know what my default energy vibration is? I have a quiz. It's free. You can find out.
look at you.
Yeah, so it's just it's important to me to make available the things that I know I didn't have that could be, the catalyzing aha so that people do get comfortable with jumping onto that journey so that they can turn their lives around in very, very quick time frames when they actually
Absolutely.
sit down and commit to their own well-being. And that's what it takes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think it is that old way of thinking that we have to struggle. It has to be really hard all the time. We probably won't even make it. It's probably impossible. All these kind of like thoughts. And also in my mind, I can see that we have to go from here to here to here to here to here to here to get to there. And I'm always like, no, I want to go from here to there right now. Let's just clear all the stuff out of the way. Show me how I can do it. And and I feel like I get whiplash sometimes because I'm like, okay, we're there really fast. But other times I'm like, okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the other thing to align. I'm getting there. It's like there's an alignment that has to happen. And
There is.
and sometimes that's the time where we have to just rest a little bit and catch up to the energy. It'll be okay. But
Yeah,
yes, we can.
having that grace and that surrender, the trust that your guides
Yep.
are doing, what they can to move you in the direction that you want to go. Um,
Yeah.
so that you don't have to push, you don't have to force, you just need to surrender to the journey and be okay with where you're at in the moment. And what can you do right now in the moment to breathe, release the fear, not be triggered. It's probably just a succession of small things, not like years and years of therapy like I tried to go through
Right.
after I left my narcissistic husband. Um, they didn't know, they didn't have any modalities. They didn't recognize at the time that narcissism was a thing, right?
Yeah.
And so the tools weren't there. The science wasn't there, the acknowledgement and recognition. Thank God today it's moving in the direction where it's more holistic and addresses all facets
Yes. Yes.
of the healing that needs to be done, thankfully.
Thankfully. Yes. Aw. Well, you are such an inspiration. You're such a delight to talk to. I'm excited because I feel like I made a new friend and I want other people to know about you. So, how can they find you and what do you offer? And yes, I want to know more about this book because I want to celebrate you and all
Thank
that
you.
hard work that you're doing. So tell us.
So the book is still being written, and
Okay.
actually, when I started that journey, it was 3 books that dropped in. When I
Mm,
unpacked it, it was ended up being 3.
yeah.
The one that has come forward the most strongly is called Indomitable: My Journey to Healing and Self-Empowerment. And it's
Nice.
intended to be my story, but also provide coaching tools and practices and perspectives that have brought me to where I am, feeling like this weeble can wobble, but it won't fall down, right? There's
Yes.
nothing that is gonna make me topple at this point. Indomitable is a strong word. It makes me think of, Wonder Woman and all of her glory, right?
That's right.
Um,
I love Wonder Woman.
yeah, but without the pushing. I mean, she just knows that she's that powerful, right? She knows who
Mhm.
she is, what she's about. And that's what I'm talking about. You're standing so strongly in your knowing of who you are that
Yep.
that somebody else can judge you and it's not going to phase you in the least because it's their judgment that they're judging. It's
That's right.
you can be completely comfortable with who you are and being okay with yourself and the world that way. So I think that that is an incredibly freeing and empowering place to be. And I want other women to step into that place too. So it's my intention through my offerings, through my courses, through my book, through my speaking. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this with you.
Yeah.
To get the word out so that folks recognize that you don't have to be sitting in this place of disempowerment and not enoughness. It's unnecessary, and you are very powerful, and you do deserve a beautiful life, and it's all yours to have. You can have it. You can have it. It's
Yes, you
available
can.
to you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Aw.
so the best way to get a hold of me is probably my website. It's joyfultransformation.life. There's a free resources tab that is, it's in alignment with my vision of having the things available to others that weren't available for me. And then I also have courses on the login button on the website. I would like to offer your listeners a 50% off code for listening. Heal This. We'll use Heal This. 50% off for any courses. And there's the new courses that I'm releasing. They're mini bite-sized courses. Uh, they don't take long and it's self-study. And then of course, there's always the option of reaching out for a free call to help integrate, or a paid call that can be then used as an investment for a package, healing package, coaching package, whatever the person feels like they want and need. So lots available. And then I'm also not clingy. I don't need to be the one. So if there's somebody that I think can do it better, I'm going to give you a referral on somebody that I've trusted and have used and would advocate for. So I've done that a few times too. So
Yeah.
that's how to get a hold of
I
me.
I love it. Thank you. I definitely think there's enough healing to go around, so I think that's awesome. But I hope you will go check out Shelli Roberts at joyfultransformation.life and get your 50% off code Heal This for any of her collections of classes. Tell me what they were. Sorry, I forgot.
There's a login button on the website. So
Mhm.
it'll take you to my course platform. There's a couple of free
Courses.
ones on there. Connecting to your intuition and recognizing it, healing blocks to it is free. So that's available. And you and I talked about how profound having that kind of connection can be. So I definitely encourage folks to check that out. It's a good first step.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Shelli. I really
Thank you.
appreciate you. I think you're awesome. And I'm really glad that we've connected. Thank
Me
you.
too, Brooks. Thank you. I'm so excited to have been able to connect with you too. And I feel the same way. New friend.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay. Thank you.